To Gary's Glorious Golden Nuggets. This is episode 0026. So happy to have you here. Today, we have Angel Ribo. He's known as the CEO Confidant. This gentleman has an international clientele. He's also an international TV host when you think about all that he does. He's on several talk shows where he's actually interviewing people. This gentleman is a philanthropist. He has a great sense of social responsibility. He's been an entrepreneur for years and years, and now we have the opportunity to hear from Angel. So let me welcome you, Angel.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Gary. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. And obviously, thank you, everybody who's listening to us today.
Yes. Thank you, folks. We really appreciate you being here. I'm going to start right off, Angel. Totally. What do you wish you had known before you became an entrepreneur?
To take action faster than I did. Oh my God. You know, I was so confused. It's a great question. I still remember, I will never remember, obviously. I will never forget, the first day as an entrepreneur, right? I mean, I was extremely blessed. I had a great jobs, and my company was kind enough even to put the severance package in place. And I had this outplacement company helping me in case I wanted to have another job. They already knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur. But hey, I mean, so much support and so many things, to be honest. Sometimes I think it was just counterproductive, you know, because I was always like, okay, so I have all those resources and then I have all these different options. I've done so many things and I have this route that I could go. I have this route that could provide this service, this other service. And yet, literally, I wish I had taken just one route and started like hitting hard in that direction. Definitely. That's definitely the thing that when I think back, I would have liked to know and change. And that's probably why I came out with this mantra, which is the main mantra for me and for my clients, which is taking perfect action now. Taking perfect action now. That's my main mantra. It's like, regardless of the path that you take, it's by taking it that you learn, you make mistakes, and you course correct, and you course correct, and you make mistakes and you course correct. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You know, all the things will show up while you do it. It's not that you have to be insane. It's not that you have to be blind. Obviously, you have to be listening and you have to be analyzing what's going on around you. But, you know, it's like, I remember having this conversation with the director for the accelerator of the Babson College in Boston, in the Boston area. Probably you know, guys, that Babson is the #1 consistently. They deliver the #1 entrepreneurial degree in the country, if not in the world, consistently. And she was telling me right now, and that was 5 years ago, right now, in order to make a startup disruptive, we only need $10,000, $15,000. 5 years ago, we needed $200,000, $300,000. That's why the faster you go to the market, the faster you will see what you have to do to provide a better service to your audience. So, oh my God, I wish I had known that in 2016. Thank you for asking, Gary.
You know, I love that because I've always lived by the mantra myself that says, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly in the beginning. You know, just keep going on it. Absolutely. And you know, you and I probably believe that there's no really such thing as failure. There's success, but there's learning experiences along the way. And there's times when your goal is not met. So when you've had those moments where the outcome wasn't what you expected it to be, what was the greatest one of those in your opinion? And what did you learn from it?
Actually, probably it was when out of the blue and through a personal connection, a company, an entertainment company from Spain came to me or called me and say, hey, we are the owners of such a TV network. We are in Spain. We're going to fly to Los Angeles in a couple of weeks. We would like you to be there because we would like to make you an offer. We would like you to help us develop their business. I had no idea, absolutely no idea about their entertainment business, nothing. But I said, I mean, they were friends of friends and I had seen them, I think, once in Latin America, but they really didn't know much about their business. But anyway, there I go to Los Angeles, I meet with them and they say, so that's what we would like to do. But you know what? We cannot pay you as much as the other clients are going to pay you. So I said, well, okay. So, you know, all right, let's see what is in here for me. And you know, when your gut feel is telling you, Angel, there's something here, you don't know what it is, but I think that you should consider this. And really, inside of me, this voice that came to me saying, You have to do this. You don't know anything, but let's keep moving forward. And I was already there. I had nothing else to do for a week. So I said, okay, I'll surrender to the unknown. Let me put it this way, Gary. And and then they go, well, Angel, you know what? Part of your responsibility, if you take this, if you accept our offer, it's going to be that you're going to be sitting on this chair just for a test, and you start interviewing people. I said, what? Yeah, you start interviewing people, and you know, but I don't know anything about these people, nothing. But don't worry, you know, we are here in this, you know, conference, and there's thousands of people. We'll bring you only like, I don't know, maybe 30, 40, 50 in the next 5, 6 days. And we will probably not have time to tell you who they are, but it doesn't matter. You know, we'll sit them down here with you, and we know you're a smart guy. I mean, as much as I like challenges, Gary, you know, I mean, I don't know anything about what this person does, right? And I have no idea of the subject matter. I mean, I have, you know, like really in an uncomfortable place, but let's say, why not? Why not? Why not? Okay, so I started interviewing the first person ever. I will never forget the name of this guy. Very famous guy in the US. His name is Stephen Halpern. He was the first guy developing spiritual music in the country. Everybody knows this guy, right? He was kind enough to be extremely gentle with me. So, but you know what? I started like asking him questions, and I was just so concentrated, so focused on him, that I started asking one question after another. And the only thing I knew is that I didn't want to deceive the audience. So I tried just to make sure that what would the audience ask if they were me? What would they want to know? And you know, we came and going. And at the end of the conversation, Stephen, he might even remember this. This is funny. I am speaking about him today. He said, wow, you did a great interview. Thank you so much. I said, what? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, I would never say, you know, I never recognized to him, right? Like acknowledge that it was my first ever. And the number 5 or 6 was this celebrity from Hollywood, the Michelle Rodriguez, you know, the actress from, you know, the Fast and Furious saga of movies, and you name it. I mean, but guess what? All this, like, you know, discomfort for these many days eventually put me in a place where I said, oh my God, this is a skill that I'm developing that I didn't know that I had. I didn't know that by being previously spokesperson for large corporations of America in other places in the world had helped me. Oh my God, I am at the other side. I'm becoming the host instead of the guest. There is something here. There is some, you know, there is value. Why? Because I realized that I can make available to the normal citizen the greatness of my interviewee. And this is priceless. This is priceless. So this is probably one of the stories that I think that I wanted to share after your question, Gary.
I will tell you, Angel, what I love the most is if the audience is sitting here and they haven't been pelted by your golden nuggets, they're not listening. I mean, it's just one after another. It's like a machine gun going off. Boom, boom, boom.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. So what advice would you give somebody who's saying, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, but what do you suggest? What would you say to them?
Yes, you know, I think that we live in a very important moment in history. Obviously, it's now March 2021. In the upcoming weeks or months, this will be, this interview will be published. So it's a very important moment in life, and it's not a coincidence that we are living this moment. Okay, so I would like to just make sure that you understand what this means. Okay, so the world is what it is, and we are here, all of us, to play a role, like it or not. Okay, we are playing a role in the new world that we are creating. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I was blessed enough last year of delivering a couple of webinars to the local, business accelerator communities here in Dallas, Texas, and both were about the following subject, which is pivoting in times of crisis. Pivoting in times of crisis. And after doing those two webinars to the local entrepreneurs and startup CEOs communities, I would say one thing: we all have this incredible talent. We all have this unstoppable divine force inside of us, that allow us to provide a unique service to the rest of the world, okay? Nobody has had the same life that you, listener, has had. Nobody. So you are unique. So even if you think, oh, there's going to be so many other coaches, so many other, consultants, so many other people making the same product, not a chance. That's not true. Nobody is able to provide the value, the wisdom, the teachings that you bring to the world just because you have had your own life and you have had your own experiences. That means by default, by definition, that means that there's going to be in the world an audience that is just waiting for you to show up and to give that value to them. So when I was telling these guys, going back to the story of the webinars here about pivoting in times of crisis, there's four things that I would like to tell you. Number one, you already know that you have passions, that there's something that you are enthusiastic about. Number two, there's always friends of you or relatives or colleagues that tell you you are an expert on something. You always come to you for something. Number three, the market is always going to need what you are willing to share with them, as I said before. And number four, and that's the only question maybe you have to ask, is the market willing to pay for it? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, and 95% of the occasions, yes, the answer is yes, then you have a business. So again, don't be fearful. I know you are on the fence, and I just answered a question saying, what was the main mistake I made is being on the fence for too long, right? So I know you are on the fence, but at the same time, know that there's people out there waiting for your message, and they will never go, and they will never move hiring someone or paying for someone's services unless you show up and they resonate with you. They're waiting for you there. That's why I think, sometimes people, I remember when I was training salespeople, I've trained literally hundreds of salespeople, and I remember training them. And in the first training session, most of the people would tell me, hey, sir, hey, Angel, but what happens if I run out of leads? If I run out of leads, how am I going to make my quota? I would always tell them the same thing, always, to all of them. Okay, so whenever you run out of leads, please come to me, and I will give you another list of 1,000 additional leads that you can call onto. What I'm trying to say is that we have those limiting beliefs that we think that we are limited, we are in a box, and we are competing against the rest of the world, when everybody knows already that the wealth is in the follow-up, that nobody follows up. So there's always wealth for everybody. There's always, services that you can provide and people that will pay for you. It's collaboration that we have not been taught. That's why we are being taught all the time about competition, but the reality is that there's wealth for everybody. And if we learn to collaborate as opposed to compete, you will feel much more comfortable, and we will all make a nice living. All of us, no exception.
I fully agree. And I thank you so much. Again, I hope you guys got another dump truck to fill up, because this guy is just going to give you golden nugget after golden nugget. So let's just talk about resources. Now, resources can be people, books, relations, etc. Can you just name three that have really influenced you in your entrepreneurial pursuits?
Yes, I would say number one, when I was in corporate America and I was in charge of, let's say, business development for many different areas in the world, I was very lucky because regardless of my own sales team, I was always working in what is called like indirect sales models. Indirect sales models means that the companies I was working with, we were going to the market and selling through resellers, through partners, and this kind of, intermediaries, let's put it this way. That was a great blessing. Why? Because I became the most trusted advisor of all those companies. Guess what? The leaders of those companies and the different employees, they were pure entrepreneurs. They started their companies small, and they wanted to thrive, and they wanted to make a lot of money out of the margins that we were giving as the vendor, right? So that's the number one thing. Resources, people that I always was working with, and I was always working with partners. That's why I talk about collaboration all the time. So number one, resource, partnerships, collaborators, resellers, distributors, you name it. Look for something, someone, companies, people that can go to the market, help you go to the market. That's number one. Number two, speaking about books, I'm not going to be very, let's say, very conventional with my answer about books, because I would say that probably the books that have influenced me the most have been more spiritual books than business books. But had I not read this book, and I'm going to mention just one of them, I would have never done what I have done, and I would have never moved from Europe. And it's a book considered, it's a fiction book. It's about, it's a history, or excuse me, the story about a series of scrolls and revelations from the Amazonian, forest in Peru. The book is called The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. Had I not read that book, which was like, of course, I knew that already, but I would never say this aloud. This is, I would be embarrassed of sharing this with anybody, but I was reading the book and every single page was like, oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. I always had this feeling inside, but I never was able to formulate it properly. I was never able to say, oh yes, this is like this. Exactly. So, and why is this book so important? It was so important for me because that's the book that when I finished reading it, I said, I have to go from Europe. I am originally from Barcelona. I was living in the UK at that time. I said, I have to move from Europe to the Americas. I don't know why nor how. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go back to London and I'm going to ask my managers, my supervisors, hey, I would like you to relocate me to Latin America to work. I don't know why, I just want to go, right? And they told me, no, you're crazy. Why would you go from this, amazing job in this amazing country, making so much money, to a third world country? You are insane. But anyway, I took my chances and I did it, and I'm glad I did it. And that's the second resource, right? And the third resource, it was going to an event. And I go to a lot of events, but this event really changed me. And although I burned my feet and that event, and now I'm giving you a clue that what event I went, and and nobody burns their feet, only the ones who are not engaged. And I was one of them. Okay, I don't mind saying it and sharing it with the world. I went to a Tony Robbins event and I burned my BLOODY feet. Okay. So, but guess what? I think that was part of the experience, and obviously it was meant to happen, right? I remember there was so many, you're talking about nuggets. Tony Robbins, obviously, he's, as you know, he's been the coach for the most influential people in the planet. Okay. So what he knows, probably only a handful of people know in the planet. Okay. So he was just sharing so many ideas, and the idea for the first time, the idea of, if you want to be really wealthy, that's going to be proportionate to the number of people that you help. And I had never, it seems obvious, right? It seems evident, right? But I had never thought about this in that way, that it's all proportional. So start thinking about how can you do something, provide a service or a product that you are going to be able to scale afterwards, right? Because it's going to be the amount of people that you serve, what's going to define the rest of your, let's say, wealth life. Those three resources, collaboration with partners, this specific book, and going to this specific event, those were three amazing resources that they made Angel Ribo the CEO of Confidant that I am today.
Well, I'm glad that you hit those resources. And I must admit that in my life, two of those have been experiences for myself without the burnt feet. but let's just move on here. There's a lot of myths about being an entrepreneur. And because they're myths, I'm going to give you an opportunity to just pick one and just bust it right now for our listening audience. Any myth?
Probably the first myth that I like to speak about a lot is the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome. We all as entrepreneurs at some point, generally in the beginning of our journey, we think that we're not worth it, that nobody's going to hire us, and that whatever we say that we did before, it's just BS, with all due respect to everybody, okay? Because we think that it wasn't enough. We think that nobody's going to hire us because before we had all this powerful machinery, of this large corporation or company, supporting us. And then we think that as soon as we start saying what we did before and try to capitalize and try to show it to the world, it's fake, because it's fake because it was in another setup and it was another system and we were working with another set of goals, but it's not true. It's not true. Again, we are, as I said before, we have treasured inside of us a series of experiences, knowledge, wisdom, which is not comparable with anybody else. And that goes the other way around too. So it means that, we really don't have, and you are not competing with anybody else. So when we have this syndrome that, we think that what we are saying, even though, deep inside of us, we know it's true, we still have this feeling, and we say it like with our, mouth, like semi-shut, you know what I mean? When I read the other day a great quote, I used it for my motivational quotes on social media. I write books to know what I know. I write books to know what I know. And I can tell you, one of the reasons why I accept so many invites from podcasters is because for me to be on a podcast and to be interviewed is such a blessing, because I really get to know what I know. I have to tell you, and I can tell you a very interesting story. The other day, I was interviewed by a young guy from Bangladesh. I was his second guest, okay? And he was intimidated, so intimidated that he made it late to the show, and he was the host, right? When you realize that he was late, not because of any other reason, but when you start talking with him, you realize that there's something there. And I spent literally like the first 5-10 minutes just praising him, just telling him how brave he was, how courageous he was, that I had been in his website and everything. And he was suddenly, I saw him growing. I saw him like becoming the phoenix bird. You know what I mean? This young man, I was his second, and he started asking me questions. And the questions he was asking me were so naive. But you would say, okay, they were naive, so they were not rich. No, because it's not such a thing as a naive question. I phrase it like this, so you realize you know what I mean. But he forced me to answer questions in a way that nobody else had ever forced me to answer. So out of his spontaneity or his, being genuine and naive, actually, we eventually had an incredible interview. I really thank him so much. And obviously I offer my help to him. He's in Bangladesh and he's a very young guy. You never know where the diamonds are going to be buried. You never know that. Never, ever. So it's very human. Going back to the original question, it's very human to have the imposter syndrome. But hey, show up, step up, expose yourself. That's the best recipe I can give you to bust the imposter syndrome that we all as entrepreneurs go through. Show up. Don't be afraid. And if you cannot answer a question, it doesn't matter. Be genuine and say, hey, I haven't got the finest idea of how to answer this question. I will have to think about it. Just that. And it's you. And there's going to be people that are going to say, this guy was strong enough, and he was authentic enough and humble enough to acknowledge that, or he or she obviously wasn't able to answer that question. And that's part of who you are. And again, I'm sure that for the next interview, you will be able to answer this question and many others, because you probably will have done some homework, but I really like this, like as to be busted, because we all go through it. It's a limiting belief, and it's so not true. So not true, Gary.
I really appreciate that. And one thing that I know from our brief interactions with each other, you are a master at building other people. You are a master at helping to establish confidence in what people have to offer. So I really appreciate that aspect of you from my point of view. Now, I'm going to change up a little bit, because I'm not going to ask the next question I normally ask. We talked about social responsibility. I'd like you to talk about your point on social responsibility as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, there was a time in my life in which I said, if not me, who? And you will understand why. If not me, who? I had this question inside of me, if not me, who? When when I was in Latin America, I lived in Latin America for 10 years, and I was working with Latin America for 15 years. And I was going there so often. I was always dealing with, we were doing consultative selling to large corporations present with their subsidiaries in Latin America. And every time I was going to see their plants, the manufacturing plants, they would typically be in the outskirts of big cities, suburbs, rural areas sometimes. Every time I would go to those places to meet with the CEO levels, to close some deals, every single time outside those plants, there would be a lot of poverty, because that's where poor people live. They live in the outskirts of the cities. And every time I would go to those places with my rental car, they would ask me, hey, senor, would you like to buy some gum from me, some candy, a bottle of water? Can we keep your car safe while you are inside? So I was always interacting with kids, always was interacting with kids. And it reached some point before leaving, and actually that was one of the reasons why I left corporate America, in which one day I had this incredible experience in which I saw very clearly that I had this connection, this continuous, possibility to talk to the top guys in the continent, and at the same time being able to see so much poverty. And I saw very clearly, if I'm not the one connecting those two dots, who's going to do it? Who is more? Who can show more, like the experience reaching out to the top and being able to deliver to the bottom through my entrepreneurial career? And I can teach entrepreneurship to these kids in need in Latin America. That was the aha moment. That was, and again, it came very, it was an impactful moment in my life, but I was, one of the saddest things in life is that we become, how is that, too familiar with the misery. We become too familiar with problems that we don't pay attention to. And the more they show up, the more insensitive we become. We become insensitive to people that are really in depth, in deep problems. And let me tell you an example. Just in Latin America, there's 170 million kids in 2012, according to UNICEF. 81 million kids live in poverty in Latin America. 81 millions. Okay, so the population of the US is 350 million roughly. 81 million kids in Latin America live in conditions of poverty. 22 million don't have drinking water at home. 22 million. And that was from 2012. I can't imagine now, after everything that's going on in the world, I can't imagine. So that's why in 2015, after I had this experience, we gathered a team. I'm the co-founder of Wisdom for Kids. And what we do is we help underprivileged kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using the local resources. And you see, it's like, Gary, it's like for my entire life, I was preparing for this. Isn't it crazy? It's like I had learned all this entrepreneurial stuff and connecting to all these people and knowing how to reach out to them, blah, blah, blah. All this, like, there was a plan behind it. Someone had been working on that plan for me to be able eventually to do that. That's why I was asking myself, as I said in the beginning, if not me, who? Who's going to do this if it's not me? Who is more, prepared to do this? And I felt immediately, the responsibility in a good way, because going to Latin America and teaching kids entrepreneurship is just a blast. It's a big blessing, as you can imagine, Gary.
I just am so overwhelmed with the things you've just talked about.
Thank you.
This is why I love doing what I do when I get to talk to people like this. How can people contact you?
Thank you. So I'm very active on social media. I'm blessed with having a great team that helped me do that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do it. I thank my team every single day. I am the most active network I am on social media outlet is LinkedIn, the professional network. You can message me there and you will see me there. Angel Ribo, Ribo spelled like R-I-B-O for the ones that don't see the video of this interview. My brand is the CEO Confidant. And I'm going to give you also my direct email address. Either my team or myself, we answer all the emails we receive every single day. It's very easy. The email address is extremely easy. Angel, as in heaven, A-N-G-E-L, @angelribo.com. My last name is Ribo, R-I-B as in boy, O. So my email address again is angel@angelribo.com. You can reach me there, and it will be a pleasure for me to interact with you and engage in a conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have all that information in the show notes. So if you're driving, continue driving. Don't try to pull over to the side of the road and try to write it all down now. So yeah, just go ahead. Now, Angel, I always give every guest 2 uninterrupted minutes. to
right.
say whatever's on their heart, whatever they want to say at this moment. So your 2 minutes start now.
I believe that the last 12 months have been really probably the most challenging, months in our lives, right? Maybe the people that were when they were young, they were maybe in a war, maybe that those were the most challenging for them. But regardless, I think that those 12 months have taught us something which is extremely important for all of us, which is connection. Connection. I've been consistently posting for the last 12 months about building bridges. Why? Because I've seen in so many outlets, in so many instances, face-to-face or online, people disconnecting, unconnecting. We've never needed, as humanity, more connection than today. Never. You can, and you have the possibility of connecting people every single day with your wisdom, with who you are. Try to reconnect, try to rebuild the bridges. If you burned any bridge for the last 12 months, you have this divine force, which is, inside of you and nobody can take away from you. Use that force inside of you to rebuild those bridges. Really you can make a difference just with who you are today and with what you do every single day. Try to do that purposely. Try to have an intention every single time, every single morning that you wake up, when you wake up and when you go out and when you start talking with someone over Zoom. Try to build a connection. Try to create a connection. Make it an intention, because we all need it. This is happening really because of something. There's some reason behind, all the fear and all the challenges. And the reason why this is happening is that because we have to become more aware of what we really can do as humans. I see this every single day. Thank you, Gary, very much for allowing me to be here. You are right. When I work with someone, I really make sure that they understand their own potential. That's my main goal with everybody I work with. To make them understand their absolutely incredible potential. And, it's been a pleasure to be here with you today. And thank you for allowing me to maybe share some nuggets with you. And obviously, I feel so honored to be here, and anything I can do for you and for your audience, it will be a pleasure to do it, Gary.
Thank you so much. Angel, God, I love you, man. You're great.
Thank you. Likewise.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude this episode of Gary's Glorious Golden Nuggets. If you've enjoyed the show and you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. If you would like to share this with somebody, please do. Help our audience to grow. Angel, you are a gold mine. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
God bless.